9, chapter 10. The word reformation is interesting. Diorthao, let me see, make sure I have that right. Diorthosis is the word reformation. It comes from the word orthao, just as the word orthopede does. An orthopedic surgeon, for example. Orthos means to make something straight again. So this form of the word says that after the fall, we had a break and somebody had to come along and make it straight again. Somebody had to fix the break. We needed the orthopedic surgeon of heaven to go and make things right again. Shift things back into alignment. Break the curse and fix the break. That's the word reformation. Jesus, number 3, reviewing quickly, I'm behind. Jesus, number 3, as promised, came to accomplish this. It initiated this reconstituting and reforming. The orthopedic surgeon of heaven came to straighten up this mess, heal the break, restore things to their original intent and constitution. Now, let me just stop there and make a very important statement to you. That means that redemption did not initiate a new plan. Redemption was not something that initiated a new plan. It was a restoration, a restoring. It was a reconstituting. It was a reforming. Listen, the family plan wasn't new. And the concept of dominion or an ekklesia that would rule on the earth for him wasn't new. Now we're at Matthew 16. Let me define 2 words for you. Jesus said, I will build my church. Build is the word oikos. It's a form of the word oikotome. Oikos is a word in Greek that means primarily to build a structure, but primarily, most of the time, almost exclusively in Scripture, it is used in the context of building a household or a family. It's to build not just a building, but a house. This is the year of the house, isn't it, Chuck? It's bet. And the word means to build a house or a household. It's the word for a family. It's the word for a family dwelling in a house. It's even a word for lineage or descendant. Now, isn't it interesting that in this one word, when Jesus said, I will oikos, I will oikotomeo, I will build, it was a word carefully chosen to mean not only will I build something, but I will build my house. Translation, I've come to get the family back. We're restoring something. So I'm not just come to build something that hasn't been. I've come to go back and recapture and get the family back. This is to me, and I'm reviewing quickly, this to me is Mark 16's commission. Go into all the world and get the family back. Preach the good news, get them saved, healed, delivered, filled with the Spirit. Right? Go preach the gospel, the good news, get them saved, healed, lay hands on the sick, cast out demons. They'll speak with new tongues, get the family back, and get them filled with the Spirit. When that happens with great momentum in seasons that come and go, when outpourings come and Mark 16 starts happening with greater intensity, we call that a revival or an outpouring or an awakening. But when he said, I will build my house, then he said, it will also be an ekklesia. Let's define that quickly. Most of you know what it is, so I'll do it very quickly. An ecclesia, yes, is a word that means an assembly or a congregation. But also in Greek language, the word ekklesia was the word for a legislative assembly or congregation. In fact, it was used almost exclusively this way since 500 BC. In Greece, the ekklesia was the legislature. Every village had a legislature. Every small community had, if you were a citizen of that community, when it was time to vote on something that pertained to that community, a crier would go through town and announce that the ekklesia was meeting at the city gates. And if you were a citizen of that community, you had the right to go to that city gate and vote because the ekklesia was gathering. So it was a word that meant primarily in that day and a legislative assembly. To say that in the context that Jesus communicated this, that he was not thinking about a legislative ecclesia as well as whatever else he had in mind, is completely violating the context of this passage. But in Greece, it was a legislator, but it was this in Rome also. But in Rome, it was something for us. I'm sorry about this, but I can't switch to the hand mic because I need both hands in a minute. So I'll just stop and back up and repeat it if I need to. Okay. So Rome, the ruling culture of the day, took the concept of an ecclesia, a ruling body, but it was a step farther for them because when they captured a region, they knew that to maintain control so that the people wouldn't try to create an uprising at some point, have their own nation back. Their goal was to get those people acclimated into Roman culture, to where they finally were thinking like Romans, acting like Romans. So the ecclesia sent from Rome was not just to rule, but it was also to disciple a nation. Did you hear that? Not only to rule, but also to disciple a nation. Make it think and look like Rome, culturally, financially, education, language. Turn them into Roman citizens that think like Roman citizens. That would be discipling a nation. So the legislature was more than just a government that ruled. It was a government that transformed. So when Jesus said, build my house, he adds to it, and this house will be an assembly. It will be a legislature. It will be a discipling governmental group of people. And this is Matthew 28's commission. Go into all the world and not just get the oikos reestablished, the family, but also be an ecclesia that disciples the nation for me, because I've reestablished the dominion mandate. You can take care of the planet again and make it look like heaven. You can take care of the planet and make it look like the ruling kingdom, and I overthrew the kingdom of darkness and reestablished heaven's kingdom. That's the good news. So now you can take my authority and you can make planet Earth look like heaven again. So the ecclesia is not a new concept or new assignment. It is simply a relaunching or a renewing of the Genesis mandate to manage our home, this portion of the kingdom. God was saying the kingdom of heaven has come and reconquered earth. That's the good news. Now as my ecclesia, rule it and make it look like heaven again. Number 4, quickly, the king of the kingdom put a fivefold or five-faceted leadership team in place to help the oikos and ecclesia accomplish these two mandates. Apostles to oversee, prophets to hear God's instruction and timing, evangelists to multiply the family, pastors to nurture and care for it, and teachers to instruct and train its members. Number 5, Satan, unable to overthrow or defeat the second and last Adam, Christ, found that his only recourse was to interfere with or interrupt the plan of reforming and reconstituting. Let me just slow down there. He's going to have to, he can't overthrow this Adam, the last Adam. He can't conquer him. So the only way he can stop the process is to mess with his plan through his oikos and ekklesia. So two of the ways he did this: he distorted the fivefold leadership plan. There may be other ways he did it, but two of the ways he has messed with the plan are he distorted the fivefold leadership plan. He succeeded in putting the pastor, number 4 on the list, in charge. He made the caregiver the general. I'm not knocking pastors. Jesus is a pastor, the great shepherd. And I'm not even talking about the position that we have created culturally, where if you lead a congregation, I'm talking about literally the gift, motivation there and function in Ephesians 5. So we took the caregiver gift and made it the general. And the second thing he did was he stole from us the concept of being an ekklesia, a government, a nation discipling, ambassadorial, earth stewarding extension of his kingdom. This way, if Satan do this, they would be a care-oriented family, oikos, and a harmless flock of sheep led by a shepherd. But they would not be a government and an army governing the earth and discipling nations. They would leave that for the king when he returned. So make them think, do whatever you can. This is what he told his demons. I wasn't there, but I know what he told them. Do whatever you need to do to steal this concept. Let them love each other and be a family. And not that I think he likes that, but let them do that, and let them think care-oriented, nurturing one another, sheep being tended, cared for, and loved by the shepherd. Do not let them know that they are my ekklesia. Make them think that they are not supposed to rule the nations, disciple nations, transform the earth, and pick up the dominion mandate and manage the home. Make them think that the king will take care of that later. In fact, let them believe that he doesn't care anything about the earth. Now, let me just insert this, and then I'm going to move into a huge, long list of comparisons between oikos, what it means to be a family, a household, which is good. It's a part of the mandate. It's where we start, as he adds and takes us into a functioning ekklesia, what that's going to look like. And I've got about 50 things that I'm going to rattle off and say, this is this and this is this, okay? So fasten your seatbelts and don't look at me like that. I'm going to do every one of them quickly. But before I do that, let me just give you one way that he messed with our understanding of ekklesia being a government, a legislature. And this may surprise some of you. One way he stole the concept from us was through the word church. Now, let me just tell you before I go any farther, I like the concept of church. I'm not going to mess with the term. In fact, the concept of church has come to mean everything we love and hold dear. So this is not the problem, so that's not where I'm going, so relax. But he messed with it this way. Our English word church originally was not even meant to be a translation of the word ekklesia. We get our English word church from a German word, Kirche, and Kirch, or Kirche, I'm not sure how to say it. Probably Kirch. So from this Kirche word, German word, we got church. But the German word came from the Greek word Kyriakon. So here we go. We got the Greek word Kyriakon, which comes from the word kurios, which means lords. So it's a good word. It actually means belonging to the Lord. That's a good thing. So Kyriakon, belonging to the Lord, then it went to the German word Kirche, and then the English word came from that, church. So church didn't even define ekklesia, it defined Kyriakon, something that belonged to the Lord. Since 300 AD, the word church, Kyriakon, was used to describe houses of Christian worship and Christian religious orders. We still use the term church to describe those things, and as I said, it's good. But in 1611, King James did not like the concept of an ekklesia. I can't imagine why. This earthly king, who was somewhat religious, but he did not like the concept behind the word ekklesia and where that might go in people's thinking. So in 1611, when King James was having the scriptures translated into English, in his 15 rules of translation, he mandated that every time they came to the word ekklesia, they would translate it not as a legislative assembly, but as the word church, a building or religious order. So what's we going to do with that? Well, we're not going to throw out the word church. It's a good word. It comes, as I said, to embody much of what we love and believe in. We're not going to throw it out, even no more than we're going to throw out the word pastor or the gift pastor, just because that's been misdefined in some ways. We're not going to throw these terms out. They're biblical terms. They're okay. What God is going to do to fix this is He's simply going to add to that. He's going to restore the concept of ekklesia. He's just going to say, yes, you're a church, and yes, you gather, and yes, you worship, and yes, you have a building, but you know what else you are? You're my legislative dominion people called to manage the planet for me, to disciple nations and turn them into people that think like heaven. I'm not deleting the word church from my vocabulary. I'm just adding the word ekklesia. So, what are we crossing into? What does this new era look like? What are we pregnant with? What is He birthing through us? I want to say it this way. It's going to be the age or era of the restored ekklesia. We've come through a season where I think we're doing a pretty good job, at least for the most part, doing